Good morning, welcome to today's class. It's a Hatha 1 class. My name is Jon Witt. If you've never taken class with me, welcome. If you're returning, I appreciate you coming back. I hope the classes are really helping you. You can always message me if you have any questions or send me a video and I could help you more in detail in terms of your practice. So today's class, you'll need a couple blocks. I'm going to do more side bending. The blocks can help you get to the floor if you're doing triangle. I'll also do some stuff on the floor. If you have an external weight, it could be something really small, a 5-pound weight or lighter, and that'll be for more the end of class in terms of opening up the side of the body. So we're going to start the class in a standing position. So when you come up to standing, you could have your feet, just in a wide stance. And then as you're in a wide stance, I'm just going to take my arms beside me, and I'm going to take my arms out wide. And then with my arms out wide, I'm going to learn to move my arms independently. So not swinging the arms at the same time, which has value. What you're going to do is take your right arm to your left, and then open it, and then to the right. So just learning how to move the arms in a singular facet. So as you try not to swing the arms at the same time, not that that's bad, but it'll teach you how to move the arms again more independently. So it could be, 10 reps for you, it could be more. As you're doing this, you'll start to feel how the shoulders will get stronger, and by having the hands facing whatever your chest is facing, you'll get more of a rotation in the shoulder. And that's really a lot of different yoga positions. So just a few more. Again, try to move independently, even though it may be more difficult for you. And then you can open it up and then just bring the arms down. So just step the feet back so that the feet are underneath you, and just see how the weight sits in the feet. So move it into the toes, move it into the heels. As you're moving it forward and back, you'll start to get a sense of how you hold your weight. Then shift it into the right foot, shift it into the left, bring it back into the middle, and just lift the left heel off the floor. And then lower the left heel, and then lift the right. So what you're trying to do is really get a sense of how you hold your weight, because a lot of times people won't necessarily know how they're holding the weight. So bring the heels down. What you're going to do is just lift the front of your foot. So when you're walking, you're lifting from your hip and you're flexing from your knee, but you may not be flexing from your foot. So if something like this, you're basically strengthening the peroneals, and by strengthening the peroneals, you'll start to pick up the foot more, and you'll be able to walk better. So doesn't feel like anything after, say, 30 seconds, but after a minute, say 2 minutes, you really start to improve your gait in terms of walking. And that's, walking is balance. So if you can't hold your balance, then it's very hard to move around, right? So come back into the middle and just come up onto the toes with the heels off the floor. And then you're going to lower the heels and lift the heels and lower the heels and lift. You're really weak in this throughout the day, just a bit, right? Spread it out. You could walk around your home on your toes. I know it looks strange. It would be very strange if you did it at a gym, right, or in public. But coming up on the toes is something that you may be lacking in terms of strength. And say you were never ever a runner, more important to do something like this, because you'll restructure the foot for those of you that have more flat feet. So just come back into the middle, and what you're going to do is take your left foot up off the floor. Just lift the heel, right? Then I'm going to take my left leg up, and I'm going to use more of the strength of my leg here to pick it up. So I'm trying to keep it into the chest. If I need to, so you can't break the line of your pelvis, use the strength of your hand to lift it up, and that's not bad. But just kind of feel where it's a little restricted. Over time, we'll go beyond that. So I'm going to take the left leg out to the left, and this whole time I'm trying to pick my leg up more. Not so much concerned with the range, but improving the strength of the hip. And by strengthening the hip, the range will improve, right? Bring it back into the middle. You could pull it up. Another good thing is I could push down on the leg, and then I'm resisting that, which will help your forward bends. So you can bring your left leg down and then take your right leg up. If you need to shake it out, right, you can always shake the leg out. But I'm pulling the leg up into my chest with the strength of my abdomen and the strength of my hip. And then again, I could use the strength of my hand. I could pull it in. I could take the leg up to the side, and then I could lift it up. So usually this side's a little bit more difficult for me, but things change. So you'll find that one side might be stronger, one side might be more flexible. That's why it's good to do the poses independently, and then you'll start to see how you can balance yourself out a bit more. So I'm lifting the leg up into the chest with the strength of my hands or not, and then I'll bring the leg down. So take the feet out a little bit wider than the shoulders, turn the feet out slightly, and bring the tailbone down so the pubis is lifting. And then as you're making more of a posterior tilt in the pelvis, you'll feel it more specifically in the hips. So I'm in a horse stance. I'm gonna take the arms out to the side. My thumbs are up, and that's just more for you to see better. But I'm gonna rotate the thumbs back, right? And then I'm gonna rotate them forward. And then I'm gonna rotate them back in space. And then I'm gonna bring them forward. So say your legs are tired, you could always come up, right? There's nothing bad about coming out of a position. It's good to revisit it, especially if the legs are weak. So as I'm turning the thumbs back, I'm gonna do it independently. So my right thumb's gonna turn forward, and I'm gonna continue to rotate back with my left. And then I'm gonna independently move the arms differently, right? So that the shoulders are opening, but very good for the shoulders. So you can rotate the left hand back, right thumb forward, right? And then last time I'm gonna rotate that left thumb in and the right thumb back. So the right is an external rotation. It's usually the non-dominant arm that you're really gonna struggle with. So just turn both thumbs back and then bring yourself back up. So when you come back up, just bring it back into the middle, and what we're gonna do is lift the foot into the hip. So it's a bit of balance, right? I'm gonna pull it up, and I'm gonna bring it down, and I'm gonna take it up, and then I'm gonna bring it down, and then I'm gonna take it up, and if I can, I'm gonna grab the ankle. So if I grab the ankle or the foot, it's a much bigger stretch. So if you're really lacking flexibility, hold the shin, and you're just standing here. By standing in this position, the whole frontal plane is getting more exposure. So if it was easy, not that you have to get more range, but eventually you're sitting on the floor in between your feet, and this is that same position. It's just find this easier because there's no weight bearing in it, right? In terms of the left leg. So bring the left foot down. I'm just turning so that you can see me. I'm gonna pull my right foot up and in, and then as I take it up, I'm exposing more of the quad, and again, the non-dominant side. I feel like I could do this all day on my right side. My left side, that's really where I need more practice in, and it's not so much like I need more hours and hours of practice. It's more specific practice, and when you get more specific for what you need, you really don't need a lot of practice, and that's the hopefully you'll learn that over a course of time, so you can bring the right foot down, because you could be practicing for hours on things that you may not necessarily need. So just come back into lifting the front of the foot. So as I'm lifting through the front of the foot, you'll know how to strengthen, for instance, like a standing position. And again, it'll really be transferable into the way that you walk. And then hook the thumbs behind you, come up on the toes. Lower the heels. Lift the heels. Lower the heels. Lift yourself back up. And then lower. And then what we're going to do is have the arms beside you, and raise the arms forward. And maybe they don't come all the way up. And then bring them forward and bring them down. At this pace, it's a good pace. Could be faster if you really wanted it. But in moving in this pace, you can really see and feel more of what's happening in your shoulders and in your back. So you can bring them forward and down. Just a few more, forward and up. As you bring them down. So when you bring them forward and up, just notice if the ribs move a lot. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just a sign that you're lacking flexibility in the shoulders. So bring it forward. And then the last time, bring it up. And then when you bring it up, you want the ribs to move down and in. So as you're moving the ribs down and in, you can move the tailbone down. So partially why people have lordosis, like anterior tilt in the pelvis, is tight shoulders and a weak abdomen, and then they're kind of stuck in this, kind of peacock position, right? As you get stronger through the abdomen and you get more and more strength and flexibility in the shoulders, you'll see that it's not so pronounced, right? You can bring the arms forward and you can bring them down. And then what I'm going to do is just a basic side bend. So if you look in a mirror, you'll see that one shoulder is possibly lower. It's usually the dominant arm. So I'm going to side bend to my left, and then that's going to help correct the right side of my body. So something like this, you could use effort like in a triangle or whatnot, but I'm not. I'm just passively hanging here. And by passively hanging, the whole right side of my body is getting more exposure. And like I said, the short side is really what you want to get to be more spacious, and then it'll be more even. Notice when you sit in a chair and you get really tired, you'll lean to that one side. That'll cause an imbalance in the upper body and the hips, and especially if you sit a lot. That's why I'm mentioning it. So just look to the floor, right? See how the weight sits in the feet, and then bring yourself back up with the head, and then go, just again, if you had a mirror or something, like look at your shoulders, you might see that they're even. I did the left because most people are right-handed, right? So go to the right side, and then it's the left side that's opening. So the benefit of going to each side independently is because I was talking more about the trunk and the spine when I went to my left, but now that I'm going to my right, I feel all this great opening in my hip. So it's really simple. You don't need any kind of, no matter what if you were in a suit, right? You could do something like this. And the QL can get really, really tight. So this is a good thing to add, again, throughout the day, especially if you have some scoliosis. So just have the head hang down. Take 3 deep breaths. And then you could bring yourself back up. And again, if it's just not so much of an aesthetic, but if you felt like one side was still lopsided, you could do that. But what we're gonna do is take the feet out wide again. I'm gonna come into a horse stance. I'm gonna bend the knees, and I'm gonna take the arms out wide. Now, just if you need to load up more of the quadriceps, I'm lifting the heels. So as I'm lifting the heels, it just really requires more strength in the lower body. So you don't have a lot of time. This is a good option. You could be up against the wall doing a wall sit, and that's a great way too. Say your knees hurt going downstairs, most likely your quads are just, could be bone related, but it's usually that the quads don't have enough strength to support your weight coming down, all your weight coming down on one foot, because that's really what it is. Lower the heels, bring yourself back up, and then bring the arms down. And then we're gonna take the feet out a little bit wider for your triangle. So I'm gonna turn my left foot out to the left, have your blocks set up if you like using blocks, take the arms out. Now if triangle's really difficult for you, you're gonna move the pelvis as well as the upper body. You don't have problems with that. It doesn't have to be so precise, but I know some people really struggle. So maybe you can see that my pelvis is moving, then my upper body's moving. So you'll hear this often in a yoga class, pull the hip back. If you don't necessarily need that, you don't have to pull it back so much, right? So I'm going to take the right arm up, and just to get some more into your shoulders, I'm going to open and close the hand. So as I'm opening and closing the hand, I'm broadening the shoulders. I'm going to take the arm forward if I can, but follow it with your eyes. So your eyes will help you move better. Then take the arm up, follow it with the eyes, which will help with your balance. And then one more time, bring it forward. Just adds a different exposure into the hip and the side of the body. So think I'm standing in front of you and I'm helping you bring your ribs in, right? And that'll help stretch out the side of the body better. Take the right arm up and bring yourself up. Turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out to the right. And just in case the side bend's too much for you, you could be in warrior two, you could be in a side angle. There's always many, many options, right? So take the arms out, move from the pelvis, move the upper body. And then as you're moving to the right, take the left arm up, open and close the hand. See how the weight sits in the front foot. So it often sickles, right? The weight's on the outside of the foot and then you kind of roll out. So you really want the weight in the instep of the foot. And then I'm going to open the hand like a cup, and then I'm going to take it forward. As I bring it forward, I'm going to take it up. I'm going to bring it forward again, following with my eyes. I'm going to take it up. And then last time I'm going to bring it forward. And then when I bring it forward, I could lift the chin more where I'm more in extension. But again, think that your ribs are moving in space and maybe you already came out, right? There's nothing bad about that. Then I'm going to take the left arm up and bring myself back up. And then when I come back up, I'm going to turn the right foot in and just step the feet back into a neutral stance. So take a few deep breaths, see how the weight sits in the feet, see how you see, if you want to see your blind spots. So if I'm really tuned into the way that I'm looking, I may be turned a certain way and that can affect me in the way that I see things, but possibly I might, get hit by something. People, I didn't see this thing coming and it hit me because you have it's a blind spot. So you want to be able to see what's around you. So with your feet as they are, take the arms up overhead and hook the thumbs and drop through the tailbone and pull the ribs in, and you're in a posterior tilt. So in this posterior tilt, you'll lengthen your lower back. So again, I'm working more on lordosis today. So lordosis is an excessive arc in the lower back, which I personally have. A lot of women have it. Men have it too. It's like I said about tight shoulders. Even if you had a posterior tilt in the hips, you may have an anterior tilt in the pelvis in different positions. So this is good to do. Your arms could be down, right? But I'm keeping the ribs in. I'm setting the weight back into the heels, and I'm keeping the abdomen in. And that's, a big part of Hatha yoga. And then straighten the legs, come up on the toes with the heels off the floor. See again if you balance, wavering, and then lower the heels and exhale, lower the arms. You're just in a basic standing position. So we're going to come down on the hands and the knees. So come down onto all fours. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders. Now I could turn the hands out. I'm going to turn the hands out a little bit, and I'm just going to move the weight around. So this is adjusting the hands, the wrists, the shoulders. But when you're adding weight specifically into the hands, the wrists, you want some weight, right? Especially because some people are really sensitive in their hands. When I work with them privately, I'm very careful of how much weight I bring into their hands because you could give them too much, and then it just becomes a problem, And you don't want to have more problems from your practice. You want less. So come back into the middle and turn the hands forward, and if you can, turn the hands in. So maybe you're turning them in, maybe not, but I'm gonna do a circular motion, and you could be on your fist too. I know very well some people couldn't do this. Anytime, which is not practiced often in any yoga class, are classical seated poses. Those are great, great poses. And when you're sitting in a pose, I'm just giving you options, right? When you're sitting in poses and you're like, hey, I think I need to move, that's a great time to move. You change your position. We should all cycle our poses. Like, don't always sit in the same position, especially for meditation or breathing techniques. All right, come back into the middle and turn the hands forward and push the hands around through the shoulders. So around through your back, look forward, look up, back bend. Exhale, round your back. Back bend again, lift the chin, lift the chest. And exhale, round the spine. So this rounding, which I believe in terms of supporting your weight in plank. So I'm gonna lift my knees up off the floor, I'm gonna push through the hands. You know, might aesthetically look different than some other people's planks, but I use more of a gymnastics type of hold because it applies more strength. Nothing against, you know, relaxing your shoulders and letting your chest come down, but you really want to push through the hands to support your weight better. These are all the hand, you know, most arm balances are like that, right? All arm balances are like that. Bring the knees down and then sit the hips back, and then when you sit the hips back, I'm just going to take my hands off to the side. So a little bit off to the side, so my whole right side's developing. And then as you're off to the side, you're getting more into your ribs, getting more into the QL. Take the hands to the middle, and then to the right side. So I say this often, when you're practicing, you should really be tuning into the practice as opposed to just keeping a certain breath count, or, you know, that's to keep you in, you know, in rhythm. It's to give you a structure, but you really want to observe what's actually happening so that you can develop it more. So it's not so much just do it and be done, and because you're going to need a lot more attention. Right? Come back into the middle, have the hands forward, and then what I'm going to do is turn the hands back towards my knees if I can. So this is down dog. So you can work, it's not down dog, but it's really the action in the shoulders. So if I can't rotate my shoulders out, yes, it might be lack of strength, but it also might be lack of flexibility. So you'll probably need both, right? So come back into the middle, turn the hands forward, round through the shoulders, and lift up into a plank, and pull back up into a down dog. So pedal the legs out if you need it, right? Bend the knees, bring the weight in the front of the hands, if all the weight's in the heel of the hand. That's super common for people. Turn the heels out slightly. Heels don't have to be down. Legs do not have to be straight. You could certainly work for that, right? But it's not necessary. Come forward and through into an up dog if you can. So lift the upper body, broaden the shoulders, look up if you can, pull back up into a down dog. Have the weight in the index fingers. Bring yourself forward and through if you could. And then pull back into a down dog. And then last time, come forward, come through. Strengthen the front of your body. Lift up through the front of the body. And then pull back up into a down dog. Pull all the way back up into a down dog. And then come down onto your knees. And tuck the toes and try to sit back onto the feet. Just a little bit. Sit back. And then come forward, because I know this is difficult for some people. So when you go back, right, stretch out the toes. Stretch out the arch of the foot. If you have high arches, it's a great position. You know, I have flat feet. I've always been able to do this. I have a wrestling background. I wrestled for many, many, many years. We were always in positions like this, drilling, practicing, competing. So these types of positions are easy for me, which not all poses were. That's what really got me into yoga, is that it was so difficult in the beginning. I was like, wow, I really need this in my life. And that was the big draw for me. I knew that I very much needed it for my well-being. So come onto your hands and your knees, lift the knees off the floor, come back up into plank, and then go back up into a down dog. So the reason I use plank so often is because some people won't necessarily do push-ups. You won't be able to do chaturangas in yoga. But if my arms are strong and straight, I'm building up to eventually being able to do that. All right, so take a couple deep breaths here. What you're going to do is walk your feet forward to the middle of your mat and walk your hands back towards your feet. Now I'm going to separate my feet a little bit wider than my shoulders. I'm going to use these yoga blocks because there's some weight to them and it's easier to squat. So your heels are up. This is good. It might actually be better for your back. So if your heels are up and your back is straight, because some people are so rounded, and if you have a history of herniation, you definitely want to extend. You don't want to be rounded so much if that's your history. Right? So if I'm extending, fantastic. Rounding can be very good. Like I do rounded positions, not all the time, but I do. And it is good for my spine. It's very good for my shoulders. So come forward into a forward fold if you can. And then in a forward bend, I'm not going to be here long, but I'm going to walk my feet forward walk my hands forward, then walk my feet forward. So splitting it up, which I really like. And then I'm just kind of moving the weight forward into the hands and back into the heels. So if I had back pain, I'd have my elbows above my knees. So the downside about yoga is that there's always going to be some forward bends. So for those of you that have back pain, you may never ever want to do a forward bend. Like, be standing. Don't worry about forward bending. There's some really simple ways you could forward bend in a chair, which is probably better for you. Right? Bring the hands down and step the left foot back into a lunge. So with the left foot back into a lunge, I'm going to take my right arm up to the ceiling. Now if you twist to this direction and it's negative, know that you could twist in the other direction. Right? Don't get caught up in like I have to look or be like anybody else, right? So I'm going to have my thumb up just so that you can see this, and I'm going to rotate the thumb back, and then I'm going to rotate it forward and in, and then I'm going to rotate it back in space. Right now I'm going to bring my right elbow to a block or to the floor, and then I'm going to take it up. I'm going to turn it back, right, to open the shoulder, and then bring the right hand down, and then with the right hand down, step the left foot forward, and step the right foot back into a lunge. So with the right foot back into a lunge, I'm moving forward in space with my upper body. If I need height, this is really great for back pain people, being up higher. And then what I could do is I'm going to take my left arm up to the ceiling, and then I'm going to make my hand into a fist, but I'm going to keep the thumb up just so you can see that I'm going to rotate the thumb back so that I'm opening up through the shoulder, and then I'm going to rotate it forward. So like a washcloth. Think of your shoulders like a washcloth. You're wringing it out. You're rotating it back, and then you're rotating it in, and then back, and then bring the left hand down, the elbow down, the forearm down, and then you can take it up. And as you're turning and you're twisting, you want the strength of your abdomen to do the work, right? Bring the left hand down and step the right foot forward. So both feet are forward, you're in a forward fold. Now, slowly roll yourself up to standing. So roll yourself up. As you're up, we're going to just take a couple breaths just so that you're not dizzy. And practice bringing the tailbone down and pulling the abdomen in. And just bring a slight bend in the knees. Nothing crazy, but just hold this in. And this can be really nice traction of the lower back. So I'm bringing the tailbone down, the pubic bone up. You can feel your glutes, right? Are they working? And then just straighten the legs, and we're in a standing position. So when you're standing, we're going to turn out to the side again. And as I'm taking my feet out, I'm going to come into a horse stance. Some people teach it where they walk the feet out. I really like more of, is it too wide? Is it too narrow, right? Get a better sense, because it's not necessarily, not that it's bad to measure the stance. I just like, some days it's shorter, some days it's more narrow, right? So I'm gonna turn the feet out. I'm gonna come back into that horse stance and I'm pushing the thighs apart. So this is an area, most people, very tight through the adductors. They're weak muscles. So take the arms out wide. You can turn the thumbs up or out or back. So open up through the chest, push down through the heels, lift yourself up away from your lower back. And my tailbone's moving down. So I did that at the top of the mat, basically to set this up. So keep pulling the abdomen, the ribs in. And then say, again, you want to come up on the toes, just to get the legs a little bit stronger, right? Get yourself up into an upright position, and then lower the heels, bring yourself back up, and then bring the arms down. Just step the feet back together, so bring them back in. Right. Go into a passive side bend again, so just let the head move to the right and the left side. So based off of me, I'm basing this off of my own practice today, is that I felt quite a bit of constraint in my QL on the left side. And it'll probably always be there. And this is a big message, is don't get so fixated on things have to be perfect, because they never will be. They never will be. And people just go over and over and overboard with that. And, just doing it so that your life is better. Think of it as that way, because you're never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I can strive to be better, but never just, I have to get perfect positions, right? Come back up. Because I know seen a lot of people over the years, and they get fixated on just getting absolutely so refined in practice that it makes them a bit awkward mentally, physically. So it's a practice, right? It's to help bring better consciousness, better well-being, but it's very easy to get caught up in this, and that can be just like an addiction, almost like television. It's obviously a healthier practice than television, depending on what you're watching. And then bring yourself back up, and then when you come back up, we're gonna go into side bending again, into a triangle. So take the feet out, a little bit wider than the shoulders, turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out. Take the arms out wide, reach out to the right, keep the weight in the front of the foot. And this is never really taught, just practicing this. Like, you could practice this. It's usually just all down or nothing, right? But you could work on this. This is, say you need more strength. Don't get low, stay up. Work on this angle. Now, if I do get low, I'm gonna turn to the chest. I'm gonna take the left arm up. Just gonna bring it forward, just one time, and then up, and then forward, right? So just so that you can see, I'm rotating the shoulder out. So this can be really confusing for people, especially when you're upside down. So take the left arm up, push through the front of your right foot, bring yourself back up, turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. Again, move the pelvis as you're moving the torso if you need it, because it could be too much stress for people. So stay up like we did before, right? Work this, which is great. As you get more flexible, you'll need more strength. If you're not in any kind of strength practice, think of your yoga as making you want to use it more to get stronger. So turn the thumb back. You can take the arm forward. As I take it forward, I'm keeping my belly and my ribs in. I'm going to bring it back up, turning through the ribs. I'm going to bring it forward one last time. And it's really, everybody's different. For me, I feel it a lot in my abdomen, my psoas. I feel it in my QL. And again, I feel it so much in my spine, right side of my spine. So take the right arm up, bring yourself back up, and then turn the left foot in. And just bring the feet back together, just neutral, and get a sense of how your legs are working and how they are here. What I'm gonna do is bring the feet in and practice a little bit of your balance. So step your left foot in front of your right foot. So when you step your left foot in front of your right, it's a straight line. And it's okay if it's not a straight line. But over time you can get it straight, and then if you get good balance, you can do it with your eyes closed. So closing the eyes will change, you'll wobble more, which I think is really very good for the joints. You can bring the left foot, because you're never really stable. You're gonna be unstable going up and down stairs to some degree. So it's practicing that, You had a lot of inflammation in the body, right? Maybe cutting back on how much you're walking or how much you're using your body. But you'd almost want the opposite. Like some of the, for me personally, like one of the best things for my knees is jumping. But it's all about landing. You get to land properly. And that makes such a difference in how well my knees actually feel and function. And then I'm going to open my eyes. I'm going to bring my right foot next to my left. So you may want an external weight for this, and it could be something. I'm using this sandbag. The weight will help. It could be a big heavy book. Just get creative. It could be nothing too, right? But I'm going to take my stance out wide, and this is just a real beginner kind of practice into like the Cossack stretch. In yoga we call it Skandasana. So my feet are turned out. I'm in a pretty wide stance here, and then I'm going to shift the weight into my right foot, and then I'm going to bring the weight into the left. So for those of you that's got stuff going on in your knees, just find a healthy degree, right? So you want to get more strength in the position so that as you're in it, you're holding it, and there's no like, my knee. And it could be ever so small of a bend of the knee. And then when you go to the left, right, you're pressing your thighs apart, you're getting, more width. Because eventually you want more range, more usable range. As much as I love side angle and triangle, and it's good. It's a very good foundation. But over time you can do more. I could use a wall, so I'm just making it more into a movement. I'm gonna go into my left, and then over time you can sit lower. Now if my foot's turned in, it's more inner thigh, right? For those of you that have a lot of, say your leg is really fatiguing, bring more weight into the right side. And this will help open up the inner thigh, right? Bring yourself up, and then go over to the right, and then when you go over to the right, just kind of, I teach this a lot in my Friday class, the handstand class that I teach, because it's really going to help open up a lot of different positions, and that's why I'm doing it here. So eventually, if you wanted to take that class, right? So I'm pushing the thighs apart, but this is so good for your hips. Bring more weight into the left side. It's not so much about alignment, alignment's good for photos, but it's not necessarily always, it's not always the, doesn't have to be such a central focal point, right? So what I'm gonna do is take my feet out wider, and if I had any kind of pain in my legs, I'd use a wall or a chair. And I say this often in the Friday class. It's not so much that I have to go further. I know that that'll come for anybody that's practicing. So if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, you're gonna feel how your legs will get stronger, and you'll be able to move better, and then you could do other things on top of yoga, right? So you could bring the feet in, toe heel the feet in, and then when you bring the feet in, you can step the feet back into a neutral stance, just standing, right? So take the left foot into the inside of your right thigh, if you can, And from that stance, it's easier to take the foot up, right? The weight's gonna naturally kind of move out to the side, but you wanna hug it in. Take the arms overhead, right? And then just bring the left arm down and take it up. And bring the right arm down and take it up. Not that you have to do this, but like you're gonna get so good at doing it that at some point it's not gonna teach you as much. So variations, especially from a classical standpoint, might be frowned upon, but diversity will be really key for longevity. You could bring the arms forward or out to the sides and down, and then bring the knee forward and the foot down, and then take the right foot up. And then there's some people that do a very, very simple practice or dynamic practice, and they don't necessarily need variety as much. But I think there's a smaller percentage of people like that. Most people will need more variety. So take the arms out wide. So you take them out wide. You can lift the arms up, keep the ribs in. Weight's always going to be a little bit, if it's really stable, you know that you're compensating. So if you're like, I could balance here all day, you're most likely compensating. So bring the right arm down, palm up or down, right? And then bring it back up. And then bring the left arm down, out to the side, and then take it up. And again, I'm doing this more to enhance your balance. And then you can take the arms out and down, and then the right knee is forward and the foot is down. So, especially if you can't forward fold, just take the feet again to not as wide as the horse stance, but turn the feet out. And with the feet out, push the knees apart, keep the tailbone down, and explore sitting a little bit lower, right? Maybe you can start to squat. Again, heels could be up. You could hold your weight. This makes a huge difference in how long your legs are. If you have long legs, take a wider stance. Especially for long-legged people with pain in their knees, when you walk downstairs, make your stance wider, and that'll help your knees when you go downstairs. Like, think of walking, it looks goofy, look like a cowboy walking, but that takes a lot of pressure off the knee, right? So what you're gonna do is come out of this, right? Of course, if you don't have a block close to you, come out of it. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit on a block, and I'm going to do some variations for that side bend. So I'm going to have a lighter weight. This is probably about 2-3 pounds. It's really light. And then I'm going to have my feet into a Baddha Konasana just to start. And then with my feet in a Baddha Konasana, I'm pulling up on my shins and I'm pushing my knees apart, right? Then bring the legs up. With your arms, push into the legs, but resist that. And you might, maybe you heard this, but I had a little pop, right? It's the pubis symphysis. It's the pubic bone, and it can kind of crack a bit. That's not my goal, but you might actually feel that pop. You have sacroiliac pain, that can help, right? So I'm going to push out with the knees, push out with the thighs. Sit up nice and tall. I'm gonna lift a little bit more through my heels. And I'm using my hands to lift the heels. This will help produce more of an external rotation. And I'm not really concerned with how much rotation I get in the legs. It's more function. How well do my hips function? And then what I'm gonna do is take my left leg out to the left. And with my left leg up to the left, just for those of you that can't side bend, right? I'm gonna do a bit of side bending here. I'm gonna push my elbow into my thigh. I'm gonna resist this. And maybe you can't do this, but if you don't have a lot of flexibility in the shoulder or a lot of range in the body, I'll do this a couple times. So I'm just gonna take the right arm up and then just go out a little bit to the left. And I'm looking up to the weight. Right? So I'm down, you can imagine that eventually you're doing this pose without a block. So not that you have to strive for that, but you're going to have much more abilities in the hips. Very good for the lower back eventually, because it's all QL. Then bring yourself up. You can lower the weight, and then you can take the left leg up and then stretch the right leg out to the right. And then as you take it out to the right, have the left arm on the inside of the leg. And maybe this is your pose, right? It doesn't have to be out to the side. Like, I'm getting such great exposure into my back just from sitting in this. Like, so easy squatting, like with support, is very beneficial if you can't free squat. Like, no props, you know, it's keep adopting the props if you're really struggling within your body or you're limited. Right, take the left arm up, and then as you take it up, I could just stay here, right? But I'm gonna go out to the side a little bit, and then as I go out to the, that's when you really start to feel the effect in the outside of the hip, which is your QL. So this line is not something that I practice a whole lot. I usually go more out, but this is fantastic. You're gonna get more and more into the hip, and it's similar to your triangle, but very different. That's why I like the floors, because it's gonna give different feedback. Then bring yourself back up. You can lower the weight, go back into having the feet together and the knees wide, and then hold on to the shins and lift yourself up into an upright position. And this is kind of what I said earlier in class, is like, modern yoga really doesn't teach these positions all that much, but they're very, it's the beginning of yoga, right? This is like the classic yoga practice. And then as people wanted to be more dynamic in movement, you know, then poses became more dynamic, and that's why yoga's so much dramatically changed, you know, over the years, you know, thousands of years, right? So keep lifting yourself up, push the knees apart, get yourself to be more and more upright. And then I'm gonna take my right hand and my right thumb, I'm gonna push into it and I'm gonna resist it. And it's good to be on the floor, right? But when you're up higher, it's easier in some effects, but it's actually more progressive. So when you're pushing your hand and your thigh, it's not just getting the leg down. Again, this kind of goes back to like people and just getting fixated in just looking more aesthetically better, right? And if your poses just look better, but you really struggle in basic things, standing, walking, sitting, or even sleeping, right? Your body is hurting while you sleep from your yoga or whatever. You know, you want to change your practice, right? So I'm going to take the legs out. I'm going to take the left leg out to the left. I'm going to grab the weight again, and then when I grab the weight, I'm going to be off to the side. I'm going to come out a little bit further, but remember, this upright position could be a very good thing to stay with. So I'm going to go out to the side, and then when I bring the weight forward, I'm going to bring it to the foot. Not that it has to go to the foot. I'm going to keep it up just because it's a little bit more specific in the shoulder. Then I'm going to take it up. I'm going to bring it forward. Really, really, really great for your upper back. Bring yourself back up. The right arm, I'm going to hold the right ankle with the left hand. Now you could use a yoga strap around the foot, right? Or a sock, something like that. I'm going to take it forward. I'll bring it back up. And then last time I'm going to bring it forward. So coming forward with the arm. And then bringing it back up. And it shouldn't hurt the shoulder at all. So if it does, you know, just keep it in a fixed position. So bring the left leg in, stretch the right leg out to the right. Take the left arm up to the ceiling so the left arm is high. And maybe this is your pose. Just here. But if you can't squat, the big reason why I'm doing this, you want Again, better function in the hips. So I'm going to look to the weight. I'm going to turn the weight towards me. I'm going to take it forward, overhead. I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to bring it forward, nice and slow. Turning, keeping the belly and the ribs in. I'm going to bring it back up. And then I'm going to bring it forward, overhead. And, if you're really struggling with physical range and you have, take it back up, bring yourself up. If you are, you've been doing yoga for a while, or you've always lacked just mobility, a little bit of weight is why I'm doing this, is so that you can start advancing or progressing or just getting healthier, right? So come off the block, and then when you come off the block, we're going to come down onto your back. You can have your props with you. Just going to do a couple different things, really simple, just to twist a little bit. But you want to get more mobility in the upper back as well. So this will be the last thing that we'll do, and then we'll rest. But have a block in between the thighs. So have it in between your legs. And then just so that they can see behind us, folks in Instagram. So I'm going to have the block in between me, and then I'm going to take the arms to a wide position. So I'm I don't have as much space to my right, but I'm going to squeeze into the block, which is really what you need in opening up the inner thighs, right? And then I'm going to lift the right arm up like I'm coming up off the floor. And then I'm going to reach for the left hand with the right. Squeeze into the block. Then take it back up. Roll onto your back. Lift through the left arm. Like think that you're touching the ceiling with the shoulder. And then reach for the right hand. Then bring it up. Then roll back onto your back. Left arm out to the left. Take the right arm up. Lift up like you're sitting up. Use your abdomen. And then go out to the left with the right hand. Then bring it back up. Then out to the right. Bring it up. And then out to the right with the left hand. Then take it back up. And then back up to the side. And then you can just rest. You could twist more. You could stretch out your legs. But getting more function into the side of your body and a little bit of twisting will make a big difference in your practice and in your life. So just have your feet together and your knees wide, and you can push into the thighs. This is really not used often, but I really like it. It's just having blocks on the second level or higher, right? Or higher or lower. But where people go is they usually go to their end, and then things can't really end range of motion, and then things can't really relax. But when my knees are elevated, it's just so much easier in the inner thigh. It like really softens things. And sometimes we need more force, but sometimes we need more ease. So that's the theory behind this. Breathe in, breathe out. Let your legs be heavy into the blocks if you're using them. And the more developed you get into the inner thighs, so good for the well-being of your thoracic spine, because the tightness of the inner thighs really compromises the thoracic and the neck. So you'll find just overall better movement and posture from developing the inner thighs. welcome to lie longer, but if you're ready to move, you can move your fingers, you can move your toes, you could stretch your legs out, of course. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knees up, I'm gonna roll over to my left side, and then as I roll over to my left, I'm gonna use my hands, I'm gonna sit up, and then when I come up, I'm gonna sit, any position that's healthy for you, that's if you are coming up. And then I'm gonna grab my left knee with my right hand and my left hand with my right knee. I'm just gonna pull myself up into a better position. There's a lot of creative ways you can use straps and stuff like that, but your hands work well. You could just hold on, right, with your hands, knees. This is all very good. Get you in a better position. So just look over the right shoulder, look over the left. You can look center, and I hope you had a great class today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to make a donation, you can Venmo me or PayPal me at Jon Witt Yoga. So it helps me teach other people for free. I know a lot of people that are taking these classes have lost their jobs, so it helps me support them and myself. So if you like the class and you're benefiting, please share it with friends and family, as I'd like to help more and more people with their yoga, with their well-being. Let me know how the classes are going. Again, write me with any questions, or if there's anything that you'd like to practice more. I'd love to help you more. Have a beautiful weekend. Thanks again for all the support and the love, and hopefully I'll see you soon in class. I have a class tomorrow, and that's from 10 to 11 on Zoom. So you go to my website, Jon Witt Yoga. You can take that class, and I could meet you if I've never met you before. All right. Have a great day, everyone.